Water is a limited and valuable resource that we must manage well to secure the future of farming and to protect our natural ecosystems. Farming is the single largest consumer of water in the county, so whatever the ag industry does has a big impact on our local water resources. A big part of my job is to work with our local farmers to guide them in using water more efficiently. This is particularly important when we're dealing with unpredictable weather patterns. As you all know, in just the last 10 years, California has seen some of the driest and wettest years on record. This uncertainty in the amount of rain expected creates a lot of problems for farmers who must predict their water needs ahead of time. My role is to work with farmers to develop plans that can help them deal with whatever nature may bring. One thing that we offer to help farmers manage water more efficiently is a free service to evaluate the performance of irrigation systems to determine how evenly they distribute water. We call this distribution uniformity testing. This measures how evenly water is being applied to vineyards and whether the system is delivering the expected amount of water. You need to make sure your irrigation system is working properly before you can begin working on developing irrigation schedules. You can manage your water efficiently if your irrigation system doesn't do what you expect it to do when you turn on your valves. After we do the evaluations, we provide the farmer with a report describing what we found and give any recommendations to improve the distribution uniformity of the irrigation system. In recent years, with help from our friends at the Farm Worker Foundation, we have also started training farm workers on how to perform these evaluations so they can help quickly identify potential issues. During the evaluations, some of the things we most typically see affecting distribution uniformity are large pressure changes, lots of clogged emitters due to poor water quality or bad filtration, emitters that are too old, and emitters of different brands and or ratings combined in one irrigation block. The emitters most typically used in Napa County vineyards are the net FM pressure compensating emitters. These emitters are designed to deliver specific amounts of water even when the pressure in the irrigation lines changes. However, there are limitations to what they can do. The manufacturer of these emitters recommends maintaining pressure in the irrigation lines between 6 and 60 psi to make sure they work well. From my experience evaluating many vineyard irrigation systems in Napa, I can say this is true when the emitters are relatively new, but they become more sensitive to pressure changes as they are getting older. I personally suggest maintaining pressure in the irrigation lines between 10 and 50 psi, with the goal of maintaining pressure more between 20 and 40 psi to compensate for any pressure changes throughout an irrigation event or throughout the season. The second most typical reason for poor distribution uniformity is when there are a lot of clogged emitters due to poor water quality or bad filtration. It is very important that the irrigation lines are flushed at the beginning of the irrigation season or throughout the irrigation season if you're dealing with a lot of suspended solids in the water, like fine particles of sand, iron, or bicarbonates. It is also important to do regular maintenance on your filters. One way to check on your filtration system is by installing pressure gauges directly before and after each filter. Any major changes in pressure after the water has passed through the filter will tell you that your filter needs cleaning. Another thing I see often in vineyards with bad distribution uniformity is when old emitters are kept longer than they should. The net FM pressure compensating emitters should last about 15 years. The issue is that most vineyards in Napa are in production longer than that before replanting when the irrigation system is updated. Because of this, I often see large numbers of emitters in vineyards that may still have another 10 years or so of production before replanting. Sometimes all emitters clearly appear broken, and these get identified and replaced fairly often. But other times, all emitters may seem as they're working fine, when in reality they are not. Some old emitters begin discharging just a little more or less water than they are supposed to. We're talking about 15-20% difference. Not enough to be noticed just by looking, but enough to make a difference when you consider all the water being applied throughout an irrigation season. This is why it is so important to get your irrigation systems evaluated, even when you might think things are going well. As emitters get replaced, sometimes I see people combine different brands or ratings based on what they have available. This can also be a problem because emitters of different brands will age differently or perform differently under different circumstances. Over time, this can make some emitters deliver more or less water than others, affecting the distribution uniformity of the entire irrigation system. It is best to make sure that all emitters in any given irrigation block are the same brand and the same rating. Once you have addressed these points and your irrigation system is able to distribute water evenly and as expected, then you can begin working on your irrigation schedules. When doing this, the two main questions you should ask yourself are when and how much. When to irrigate should be answered first, and it should be based on indications that your plants need water. This can be done with visual inspections or with available technology such as a pressure bomb, which helps estimate water stress in plants by measuring the amount of force needed to remove water from a leaf, or NDVI imaging, the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, which uses drones or planes to reflect light off plants to identify unhealthy or sparse areas in the vineyard, which is oftentimes associated with water stress, but can also be associated with diseases or nutrient deficiencies. Once you know your vines need water, then the next question to ask is how much water should you apply? This should be based on the capacity of your soil to move and retain water and on the amount of water currently in the soil. The best way to keep track of the moisture in the soil is with soil moisture probes at different depths. Your soil texture, structure, and the amount of organic matter play an important role in how water moves and is stored in the soil. Understanding the strengths and limitations of your soil is very important when developing irrigation schedules. The goal is to avoid introducing more water than your soil can handle. I hope this has been useful. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or if you're interested in having us come over to evaluate your irrigation system or to train your team on how to conduct an evaluation themselves. Thanks.